Hi there, and welcome back to the channel. Today, Native Instruments Rise and Hit. This is one very cool product here. If you're doing sound design for film, TV, student film, indie film, it's great. If you're doing dance music, if you're doing pop, doing hip hop, this is a great product. And don't overlook all of its capabilities. Let me get into it and give you a quick overview and tell you what I'm going to explain to you today. This is going to be a deep dive of this instrument. A lot of people don't get past this first interface. They pick a couple of presets, maybe add a few layers, do some offsetting, and they're done. And it truly does sound great just like that. Let's listen to it right now. That's pretty cool. But what they're missing is everything under the hood, all the effects, all the filters. There's low pass resonant filters here. It's basically a little teeny tiny sample based synthesizer. And there's so much in here, especially when you use the mod view to create all kinds of craziness. And I'm going to show you all of this today. But we're going to start by walking first. Here's the basic interface. Right here we have our rise portion over here, and we can see the sample waveform, and we have our hit right here going to the end. We can choose the rise time, and this is in beats, and it's going to sync with your digital audio workstation. We can also set it to seconds if we don't want to think about beats and we just want to think about time. Most people are going to use beats. By setting this slider here, we can set the amount of time or the number of beats for the rise. Right now it's set to 4, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the next one, we're going to hear the hit. If we make it less, if we make it down to 2 beats, it's going to be 1, 2, and then we're going to hear the hit. So we can make this rise time pretty long. 32 beats is going to be a pretty long time, even at a fairly ripping tempo. Let's leave this at 4 for now. Let's talk about the latch mode. If I'm just using the mouse here, I can click on the rise side, which is the purple side. As soon as I let go of the mouse, it stops. If I turn the latch on, it will continue even after I let go of the mouse. If I just want to hear the hit, I can click over here on the yellow side. And if I turn the latch off, I can re-trigger it. That's pretty cool. For right now, I'll leave the latch off. Down here we have continue. All this is saying play the rise, then play the hit. If I turn this off, now we just hear the purple side all the way through. I can turn the latch on for this, and it will just stop when it gets to the end of the rise. Or I can turn the latch off and just hold down the mouse. Alrighty, let's turn continue on for now. We'll leave the latch off. Let's talk about this section here for just a moment. This is the preset layer that it has loaded. You can think of layers like performances on a synthesizer. It's a collection of patches in a way. Up here we have the breakdown of this layer. We have a sample here called Antipodes, and we have another sample over here called Antipodes A. This one is used for the rise, and this one is used for the hit. We can change them by clicking on this arrow here. You've heard that descent sound in a lot of creepy movies. Let's go back to antipodes. We can just click on this magnifying glass to get an entire list. And this is the browser for the samples. There's also a browser for the layers, and we'll get to that in a moment. Over here we have our categories: orchestra, orchestral sections, orchestral percussion, tweaked orchestra, voices, bells, and more. Over here we have the results from clicking on these different categories. There are a lot of them, so don't forget you need to scroll down to see all of them. Up here we have filters so that we can reduce the amount of information that we see in the results area. That way we can narrow down what we're looking for. So we can go to orchestra, and here we have glide or straight. Glide means the pitch will change over time. Straight means that the pitch will not change over time, or it mostly won't change. So if we click on glide, these are all the ones where the pitch changes, usually getting higher pitched and adding to the intensity. Straight means that the pitch will not change. They're toggles, so we can just turn them off and then see everything if we want. Over here we have full, low, and high. And this is talking about the center pitch of the sound, where it essentially is. Is it a high-pitched sound, like violins? Is it a low sound, like drums? Is it a full sound? And this will include sounds like choirs, where you have altos, tenors, basses, and sopranos, so you have a full range of sounds. Over here we have natural and processed, and you won't always have every category. Here we don't have processed, but if we go down to voices, we do have processed, and we have natural. To select a sample, all we do is go to one of the categories, pick the sound, and click on this check mark. If we decide we don't want anything here, we can just click the X and go back. The fastest way is just to double click on the item that we want. This sample right here will be fine. And now it's in there. That's pretty cool. I can live with that. We can go over here to this side, and we can change the sample for this side too. Right now, we'll just leave it where it is. So I'm going to click on the X and go back. Down here, we have a lot of the parameters that affect the layer overall. We have an offset for our rise time. This is pretty simple. So we have these 4 beats, our 1, 2, 3, 4 on the rise time. But we don't have to have it start at the beat 1. We can offset it by 1. So you'll notice that when I press down the key, you'll see it start to play, but it's not playing any sound. And then it will get to here and it'll start to play. Now you might say, well, why don't you just make this 3? Well, that's because I might have other layers activated. We have 3 more layers here for a total of 4 layers, and we can have them activated. Perhaps they start at 0, but antipodes here doesn't start until 1, so you can offset them. It's pretty cool for creating multi-layered sound effects. Over here we have our decay time. So if we listen just to our decay time by pressing in the yellow area, we might want to make that shorter. Let me make it really short. Usually you probably wouldn't. You probably wouldn't do this most times, but we'll do it here. we'll put it back to the full amount for now. Down here we have a volume control. This is the volume control for the rise. This is the volume control for the hit. Sometimes in a scary movie, you'll have something that's kind of very soft. And then bam, they hit you with something really loud. So sometimes you might want to take this down and then have this really loud. Remember that descent sound? That would be really cool over here for doing that. That's probably a little bit over the top, but you get the idea. Right here we have a link. And what this will do is it will link a lot of the parameters for both the rise side and the hit side. Now when I move the volume control, they move together. You have to be aware that this also links parameters in the expanded view that we're going to go into in a moment when I give you the big details and show you how to use all the filtering and effects. Up here we have something called whoosh. What this does is adds a really short sample on the rise side. I'm not exactly sure why they did this, so let's take a listen to it. You could just do that yourself. Not exactly sure, but it does make things a little bit quicker if you want to get there. Over here we have a magnifying glass, just like we have up here for the sample browser. This is the layers browser. We can just scroll through by clicking on these little controls here, or we can go right into the browser for the layers. The controls are very similar right here. We have glide, straight, we have our full, low, and high, and we have our natural and processed. Let's just pick something here. That's going to load up a rise sample and a hit sample. Let's listen to this one. We still have our offset here. Let's start experimenting with other layers. So here we can load up an empty layer. We'll just click on the magnifying glass and we'll pick something from the bells section. We'll load up another layer. We'll pick up something from the electronics. That's fine. And then we'll choose our last one. And let's choose something from bread and butter. And we'll choose Doppler 7. That's fine. Let's solo these one at a time so we can hear them. You've already heard the first choir one, so let's move on. That's got a really long tail. I might want to tame that a little bit. Let's look at Arctica. Nice deep boom on that. I like it. Doppler. Okay, I'm not letting these play completely. Let's turn them all on and let's offset them and have a little bit of fun here. So we'll let the big choir play the entire time. We'll offset the cymbal by 1, Arctica by 2, and the Doppler by 3. So that you can hear as they all come in and then start to layer together. Okay, I just don't want the cymbals to last that long or be that loud. Let's try it again. That's pretty cool. All right, let's get into the details. I'm going to turn these off for now. And I'm going to come up to our big cluster and I'm going to click on this arrow that's pointing diagonally. Here we are on the details page. If we wanted to edit some of the other layers, we can use these arrows to scroll through them. They're turned off right now, but we can turn them on and then start playing with them. But I just want to show you how to use the mod feature and modulate all these parameters in real time. Here we are, we've got our sound. Let's listen to it one time so we know what we're dealing with. Pretty cool. It's a simple sound. All these parameters here can be modulated. Means they can be changed in real time using functions with inside rise and hit. Obviously, you can just right click on them and assign MIDI CC and then modulate them with your digital audio workstation. But it's possible to animate all of these inside rise and hit. So let's start by looking at panning. That's pretty simple. I can move it from side to side. Now understand, when we use this link button, not only are we linking these volumes here, but we're also linking the parameters in here. All of these get linked as well. That can be useful. Right now, we'll leave it off. The only thing I'm dealing with are these set of controls on this side, which are affecting the rise. These controls over here affect the hit. Let's automate the panning. And here's what we can do. I'm going to control click the panning just to set it back to its default, which is center. You'll see there's some little arrows here. They're hard to see, pointing up and down. If you click on them, they don't seem to do anything. If you click in the center of those with your mouse and then drag up, you'll see that line starts to form there. That's saying, how much of the panning do you want to control? Well, I want to control all of it. Now I'm going to go into mod view. And you can see that the panning is starting on the left side. That's this lower area. On full left, it's slowly moving to the right. Let's listen to that. Even though there's panning here for this side, for the hit portion, it's not being affected. And that's because we haven't activated it. So it's still in the center. Let's slow this down a little bit so it's a little easier to hear this panning on the rise. And if you're wearing headphones like I am right now, you can really hear that. Now we can get crazy with this. We can just draw in here, and I'm just going to do something ridiculous, but you know, you can take your time. You can really hear that effect of it panning rapidly from left to right. There are a few predefined curves in here that you can choose. Simple curve, and that's where we started. Reverse simple curve, S curve, and we can reset it, which just puts it in the center. So we're not going to hear any panning effect right now. User input is important. Now we can draw in here anytime we want, but only when it's on the user input mode do we get this copy and this paste option. I can hit copy here. I can't paste it over here, even if I put this in user input mode. It won't allow me to copy it from this side and paste it over here. But I can go to another one of our layers, and I can put that in input mode, and I can paste it here. It's not turned on right now, so it's not going to do anything. We don't have it turned on here, and we haven't assigned it to tell it that we want it to pan. But that's a feature that you might find useful. So let's listen to this one more time. Pretty cool. All right. There are some other things that we can do here. We can alternate and click in here in this area, and that will turn this panning off. That's very handy. Now, the panning, this filtering here, this effects here, and the tune, these are all insert effects. So when you're not using them, you want to make sure that they're fully off, or you might be sending some signal to them, and you might be wondering, what's going on? Why am I still getting that modulation when I turned it off? So just remember that. Let's take a look at this one right here. So the first thing we want to do is maximize it. We'll go ahead and apply it to 100% of it. And we'll go in and we'll take a look at what options we have. One thing we have in here is a resonant low pass filter. Let's hear what that sounds like. It still sounds like a choir, but you can definitely hear a very cool low pass filter. Let's modulate it our way, being ridiculously crazy just for fun. So if this was a scary movie, we might want it to build up. So we'd have it build up a little bit, then come up even higher, and then really hit its peak. That's pretty cool. Remember, we're just processing the rise side. You can do this on the hit side as well, using the exact same controls over here. There are a lot of choices in here. There's a crispy filter, there's the morph filter, there's the triple resonator. Listen to this one. All right, I don't want this video to be too long, and if you have this product and you've never used any of these features, you can go in and check this out for yourself. I'm going to alternate click in here just to turn it all off, and then turn it off here, and then just to be sure that I'm not sending any signal there, I'm going to rotate that to 0. Let's look at this one. This has a bunch of effects in it, like phaser type effects. So once again, we want to click in these double arrows, pull it all the way up. We're not seeing anything, and that's because I didn't rotate this first, but you can do it before or after, it doesn't matter. We want to turn it on, and we have something called stereo opener as the default. That's a pretty cool effect. Let's choose something that we might recognize. So we have some lo-fi that's going to add dirt and distortion to it. We have fat tube and some other driving sounds here. Let's choose Alien Nation. This has a ton of modulation in it. Remember, we can do this over a longer period of time. So you can have that spaceship or that laser beam do its thing. Let's go back down to 4. This is definitely going to take too long. All right, we can scoop this. Let's get one other effect here. Soft flange. This is a nice effect. In order to have it come in and out a few times, I think we need it a little longer. That sounds really good in my headphones. All right, enough on this. There's a bunch more in here for you to play with. I'm going to turn this all the way to 0. I'm going to control click. I'm going to alternate click in here. I'm going to turn it off so we're not hearing it. Now we have tune. I'll just manually do this so you can first hear it, and then we'll go ahead and modulate it. If you remember before, I said that we have sounds that are essentially straight and they don't have a rising pitch. And then we have other ones that have a rising pitch built in. If you like one of the sounds that doesn't have a rising pitch, you can go ahead and add a rising pitch to it right here. So once again, we want to drag up from here so it assigns control for the entire range of the tune. And if we want it to go from essentially no tune to full tune, here we are. Let's go ahead and listen to that, hear how it sounds. So remember, by creating a full range of tune here, we're telling the modulation that we want it to go from -12 to +12. But maybe that's too much range for us. So we can go in here and we can pull that down a little bit. It'll still change the tune, but not as broadly. Let's go ahead and make it full amount. Just do something crazy so you can hear it. Essentially, changing pitch over time, up and down, is vibrato, but what we're doing is craziness. That's what your spaceship sounds like when you're trying to get it to go and it doesn't want to go. You know, maybe the overthruster isn't working correctly. All right, let's turn this off and go down here to delay and reverb. Both of these are send effects. These four here I was previously talking about are insert effects, but these are send effects. I'm going to put them at their maximum. But I'm not actually going to add any control to them yet. I'm going to leave that at 0, just so you can hear these effects. But they can be controlled by the modulation section up here, just like we've done with all these other parameters. Let's go to the master effects section so we can see the delay and reverb controls and others. Starting at the top, we have the equalizer. All we need to do here is just click on it, turn it on. There are some presets over here to help you out. You also have frequency and gain, and you have 4 bands. It's not truly parametric because you don't have a cue, but it's very useful. You also have an output for applying its intensity. Down here we have saturation, which just adds versions of distortion, and you have some presets over here. And we also have the amount of drive right there. Here we have a smooth compressor, and we just turn it on. We can choose the amount and the mix, whether it's dry or wet, and what percentage. We have some presets in here that we can choose from. And last but not least, we have a limiter. We can turn that on. We have an input and an output for setting our desired amount. Down here we have our reverb. It's a convolution reverb, but we also have another effects device, and I'll get to that too. And we also have delay. And these are controlled by these send values here because it is a send effect, just like I told you. So if we turn on the convolution reverb, we'll go ahead and turn on these, make sure they're maxed out. And we'll just listen to the hit portion for a while. Let's hear it without the convolution effect. That's a big difference. We have a pre-delay, we have a size for the size of our space. We can change that space. Right now it's on abyss. We can use these arrows to cycle through. We can click on this down arrow or just click on the name and we'll get a list, and we can choose from any of these. and we also have a level. We also have this effect over here, which is interesting. It's not a convolution reverb, but it's some very weird sounding effects. Let's choose, for an example, Space Station. If you've ever heard one of those scary movies where it goes, help me, help me, help me, help me, and we have that dying echo, very much this sound. Now, obviously, we could probably do that with our delay section, but here it's already done for you. Let's try combed resonance. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's a ton for you to choose from here, and you can have fun with them. Let's go on to our delay. So we just want to put our delay on. Want to have a time and a width. We have feedback here for how many hits, and we have a level. It's pretty tight. We're going to have a ton of feedback. And now we're approaching that Space Station sound that we were just listening to previously. Let's go ahead and turn this off. So these master effects here are really cool. Don't forget the convolution reverb and this effect here and the delay are the send effects from right here, 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 and here. Now, they're not mutually exclusive. When you're sending to the delay here and you're sending to the delay here, there's only one delay. It's right here. We don't get one for each of them. One thing to remember, though, is these effects can be controlled up here and modulated. All you do is turn them on, and then you're modulating them. Last but not least, what I want to show you is the crossfade right here. Crossfade is just crossfading the rise with the hit sound. So this center point here between the two. Usually you'll probably want some kind of rise and then a big hit, something that gives you that big transition. But if you want to soften that hit, and you don't want to do it with loudness, you just want the rise and the hit to kind of run into each other, you can crossfade them. It's not a huge crossfade time. But it's smoother. You might not be able to tell a whole heck of a lot of difference here, and it really depends on the hit sound and the rise sounds that you have. But the crossfading can definitely smooth out the transition between the two of them a little bit, but not a huge amount from my experience. The volume up here can also be modulated. So we can modulate it. And sometimes you'll hear that something's trying to get going like a spaceship. And let me give you an example of that. Let's go back to the main screen here. Essentially, that's everything in Rise and Hit. This is a really good product from Native Instruments. Yes, I've ragged on them in the past, but I've ragged on them about their upgrade path and how expensive it is for Komplete. I've never said that they don't have great products and that they don't sound good. Some of the derivative sample content crap I could live without. This is a really good product. There's a lot of flexibility here. If you want to get into the details and play around with the filtering here, if you're into sound design, there's some really cool stuff that you can do. And then you can resample it by saving it in your DAW, dumping it into a sampler, and then slicing and dicing it. But you can do a lot of that in here. The modulation screen is very cool. It's a shame that there wasn't a more detailed view so you could expand it or contract it with the same kind of controls that you have on, say, a DAW for expanding the main screen. So you'd have a little finer control in drawing the kind of controls that you want. But it's got a lot of flexibility, and it's a really fun program to just play around with if you're into sound design. I'm not, but I use it for orchestral and orchestral hybrid score. I've also used it in pop. If you're a hip hop artist, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. The thing about something like this is I don't think it's being used that much for pop, hip hop, dance, and I think it really could be used for that. So that's it for this episode. Take care, and I will be back in another episode soon. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any great content. Take care now.